What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Seth, and we are back again for more Troll to Trove. Today, we're going to be talking about the developer patch notes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where's the one from a couple weeks ago? I was sick, okay? Seriously. I'm sorry, guys. I was out of commission. I was focusing on healing up. I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks for asking. Not 100%. But well enough that I can end up getting some recording done, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Now, what we're going to be doing in this video is focusing on what the developers ended up talking about, some questions that people ended up asking in front of the community, and their answers from 2 weeks ago as well as just last week. And so that we don't end up having like a lengthy, hopefully under half-hour video, I'm just going to pick and choose some of the questions that I think are more appropriate and a lot more exciting for us to actually talk about and speculate about, rather than just answering or talking about every single question and answer. That said, I will put a link in the description to both of the forum posts so that you can check it out for yourselves. Otherwise, before we get started, I would appreciate if you would hit that like button, makes the video show up in searches and stuff. And without further ado, a big shout out to Shiro Kiri for summarizing all this stuff and putting it on the forums so that I don't have to watch through an hour-long developer live stream because I'm lazy. No, it's because I'm busy. So obviously we've got the Sunfest event that's going to be coming out pretty much today, and that's going to end up also bringing us bonus experience week. We're going to be able to re-roll our second stats on our gear, so I'll have a separate video that just kind of announces that. They will also end up giving us 25 golden veil fragments, which is this dragon that you see before you. I honestly don't know why the quest is going to give us 25 fragments towards this guy, because you can literally grind this dragon in half an hour to 45 minutes if you have enough bombs. But anyways, there's also going to end up being a bunch of other stuff that will happen on console later down the road in terms of like summer sales and junk like that. PC, we already had it come and go, right? So any more info on Bound Brilliance, and developers, you know, again, they say no changes on our previous answers right now. We're going to evaluate the Bound Brilliance and add new drops as appropriate in the future. Now, I cannot stress this enough. I really wish the developers would actually listen to our cries, because as of right now, folks, it's hilarious. The developers seem to have this psychotic idea that there is a way to even get Bound Brilliance other than these boon boxes, which there's not. The boon boxes are gone. We're not going to get daily login tokens anymore here, folks. So if you want Bound Brilliance, you literally have to get these tokens with credits, either credit pouches that you buy in game with Flux for absurd amounts, or you can just end up getting this with the Cash App currency. But there's no way of getting Bound Brilliance right now outside of that and the tome. That's it. And what does the tome actually give us? Survey says. Where is this stupid thing? Where is it hiding? Stupid legendary tome, you'd bother me. So the tome itself only ends up giving us 5 Bound Brilliance a week. They're pretty much, guys, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get any of the augmenters without Bound Brilliance. That's why this is such a mandatory resource for the game. Meaning that any player right now that's not willing to end up going out of their way and getting these bad boys, which as soon as these end up disappearing, if the developers haven't put a new method of gaining Bound Brilliance in the game, there will be no possible way, outside of the tome itself only giving you 5 a week, of actually augmenting your gems. Hilarious, right? Anyways, let's move on. So this is a good question. Will we be getting any new sub-biomes? And if so, what's the most likely biome we're going to end up getting? So this is interesting because when the Resistor or Heroes update of Trove ended up coming out, we ended up getting the sub-biome, which is the Luminopolis, right? So the developers say that possibly, not until next year though, their current focus is Geode Surface. They just love saying Geode Surface instead of saying U10 now, don't they? But they say maybe snow or desert. Now, the funny thing is that originally when the Trove Heroes update came out, you know, Luminopolis, I thought was a huge success because the Trove Heroes update was one of the biggest, you know, jolts of electricity in Trove's community for a very long time. Oh, of course, most of all because we ended up finally getting a new class, but also just the way that it was presented, the Rampage challenges, everything about that update kick butt, like seriously, including the sub biome. I think that is a very good way that they could end up going into the game that already exists, and rather than making a whole new biome like they're doing with U10 and all the Geode and stuff like that, instead they could just refine content that already exists. And they ended up talking about how they were going to end up doing the snow biome, so it seems now it's kind of a snow or desert biome. However, I do want to point out that the fact that they're saying that they're going to delay it until next year either means that it's their plan to have sub-biomes and possibly a new class at the beginning of the next year. Maybe they're going to kind of do that for the continual roadmap of Trove, which I would love to see them actually do some more consistent development cycles like that in the future. Or they're just going to end up forgetting about it and just throwing it to the wayside as just another failed project idea. Unfortunately, that is a big criticism that I do have about Trove's development, is they'll end up adding something that's cool, which you would think that they would end up developing upon, and they end up developing towards something else. And then funny enough, they actually have a very lengthy question talking about how, pretty much somebody asking why Patron doesn't affect the Geode Caves. Which is a very fair question, because the Geode Caves, I personally feel, should be affected by Patron, because otherwise you're not really rewarding players for a system that is essentially in place that kind of is required because of the amount of benefits that it ends up giving. But their response is another lengthy, bloated reply that ends up basically saying that they don't really want Patron to affect the Geode Caves in any way, shape, or form. So it's our decision whether or not we end up getting Patron, except it's not really a decision. It's more of a forced, you know, if you want to play anything else in the game outside of Geode, you have to have Patron. I really do think it's disappointing that with the Geode update, now that all things have been said and done about it, I think that's a great update. I really, really do. But there's a couple little tweaks that they need to do, mostly towards crystals and metamatter and stuff like that, which we're probably not going to see that ever, if not for a very long time. And then otherwise, they needed to make, you know, certain items like the eggs and companions and junk like that needed to be tradable. Crystals could be tradable too. But more so, I think that a lot of these would end up being fixed if Patron would end up actually working with it, which originally they said Patron wasn't going to work with the Geode area because it was a new planet, which of course we all know is bogus, because Patron is going to end up working with U10 because it's just more generic content. But in that regard, how come Gathering Day doesn't work with Geode? That would end up spicing things up a bit and making the update a little less disgusting as far as grinding is concerned, even for a pay-to-win player such as myself. Did you know that the Geode update is actually even more expensive than it costs, like financially? The Geode update costs more than the Trove Heroes update did, including the classes themselves. Like, it's ridiculous, man, seriously. So anyways, my pal Nokia ended up coining something which I thought was hilarious, because they say all this stuff about Patron not affecting Geode, and originally they said it's because it's a different planet, right? If that's the case, how come you got so many store packs that affect the Geode update, huh? Like, and especially these are all ripoffs. Like, they're not good. You know, the original packs, okay, they give you a little bit of a boost, but this one right here technically is a deal because these caches are completely overpriced. But as you probably have already seen in my opening Greater Caches video, you know that the Greater Caches are junk. So avoid this pack. I'll have other videos there again talking about the packs more specifically. But anyways, hashtag rant, hashtag over. So another good question mentioning how when clubs are actually max level, they're supposed to slowly end up working towards completing this so that the club can end up just getting a whole bunch of Klubits, right? The developers actually going to say that they've had issues with those levels, like the prestige levels after actually maxing out a club, and they're not going to end up actually putting it into the system at this moment, or maybe even ever. So I guess we're not getting extra Klubits when we end up maxing out the clubs. It's just going to end up being for fixtures. Since Streamer Dreambox 1 aren't given out anymore, which is a streamer code that you know, streamers would end up giving out that could end up giving you a bunch of different allies and junk like that, right? How are people going to end up getting Roboraptor and Balefire Wings, which of course neither of those things end up giving mastery anymore. They used to, so they're not really like something required anymore, so you guys don't really need to worry about it. But if you want them, they do say that it's going to end up being in Luxian's inventory eventually. Will there ever be a dragon that is also a boat? They say probably yes. I would not be surprised if the new primordial dragon is a boat. Boat dragon? Another good question, if we missed an item in the Dayspring, which is that table that we talked about 2 seconds ago, will it be available in Luxian's inventory at some point? And the developers say yes. Now this one's got a lot of my speculation and my radar a-pumping, because we've got a question that says, pardon me, I thought we would be getting Geodian armor, and the developers say, great question, we can't answer it yet, stay tuned. Now, I'm worried, guys. Are they talking about just the new Astral gear is going to be called Geode Armor? Or more than likely, are they going to have a separate system that is going to end up being very similar to modules that is going to end up being something else that is going to end up ultimately affecting U10? Because we know for a fact that the developers, even though they say that the Geode update is something completely separate, they have hinted that being higher level in the Geode update, or at least having access to some of the later resources, is going to end up giving you a little bit of an advantage in U10. So I'm expecting that we're going to end up seeing some type of modules added to the game that are going to be specifically related to exploring this overworld. It's not going to end up being like the jetpack or normal modules and stuff like that, because they did end up confirming that out here, it's going to be just normal trove farming, right? Somebody also asking about a couple different modes in Bomber Royale, which I really hope they end up developing. Thankfully, they do end up saying that they're excited about the potential of great Bomber Royale game modes in the future. So again, I really, fingers crossed, hope that this is not a project that they end up abandoning, as they've done with PvP in the past, because Bomber Royale is great. It really is. They're actually, they've got a couple new maps down the pipeline, so hopefully we're going to see those things come out sometime soon. Then somebody asking about the Atlas in the hub, which back originally when they ended up adding this thing, we wanted it in clubs post haste. The devs did say that they were going to end up giving it to us eventually, but I guess it must be something difficult for them to code for Club Worlds or something like that. I don't know. But somebody asking, will we be able to get it in the future? And they say once again, yes, we'll have an announcement for this soon. It'll be either be part of a future fixture, which I don't really like the sounds of that, or a standalone decor piece in the future. Devs, please do not make it a fixture. We've already got enough fixtures without them all conflicting with one another. We don't need one just for portals. Like, this should just be a thing that you end up just crafting and throwing down anywhere you want as a decor item that you can interact with, so that we can end up making our portal hubs a lot better. Because honestly speaking, if they make it a fixture, we're probably not going to go for it, because the whole portal system that we've already got where we just craft portals already works. Like, we don't need a fixture to replace all of this stuff, you know? Like, seriously. I mean, despite the fact that it would look a lot better if we just had one thing you could interact with. But seriously, this or a fixture? I choose this. Thus ends the 2 weeks ago live stream. So let's get to some of the normal, more recent live stream that ended up coming out last week. Will there be anything in the caves that I can kill? So the developers say, no, just time. Got that right. This is kind of cool, guys. So can we possibly have an option to switch between name tag colors that you have unlocked? And then all the developers' response is that yes, this feature is nearly complete and will be on the test server soon. It will come out with the next non-hotfix release. So they actually have the next update for Trove, which isn't going to be the U10 update. It's going to be something that's going to come around very shortly. Apparently the test server may be available next week, if not the week after that. And it's going to end up being a big quality of life update. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to end up putting out with it. And more notably, it seems we're going to be able to choose our name color. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to just choose our name color outright, or more so it's just that we're going to be able to choose which name color we have, unlocked throughout the weekly contests. Will there be a golden thread event line related only to Geode or Bomber Royale? So if you guys don't know, the golden thread is when you end up starting the game, you end up having a bunch of quest lines that kind of tutorialize you on the game. They don't really do a very good job, but at least it's something. And they end up saying that we'd love to have golden threads that are related to these features and would end up being a good walkthrough for starting players. But it takes a lot of time, so it is on the list. We're happy with the current quest thread in the Geode area already, which I think that the Geode area already does nail it as far as the tutorial, because honestly speaking, the Geode is not complicated at all. However, a couple of things that it doesn't end up specifying very well is, the fact that you're going to end up getting gear from it, which, you'd think that's a no-brainer, but it really should actually imply that you need to go through the quest line in order to get like the jump jet boots and stuff like that. But then on top of it, it doesn't really do a very good job explaining how to go to the later tiers, as well as just generally not explaining about this specific resources that, the description of the resources themselves, if you hover over them, is already good enough. But the quest line itself does not necessarily actually mention it. Why did I disconnect? What? Okay, I don't really know what happened there. For some reason, I couldn't reconnect until I ended up closing Glyph, whatever. So anyways, any plans for adding more daily challenges? They do say that they want to add some more for the Geode Caves and the surface in the near future, and are also considering Bomber Royale challenges. Now, that would be nice if we had challenges to end up getting dragon coins that were related to something fun rather than just forcing us to end up grinding, which we're already doing, don't get me wrong, but Bomber Royale is a great time. Somebody also asking if they're going to end up revamping the fishing in any way, shape, or form, and the devs literally say that they always consider it, but then they end up moving it back in favor of other systems, and do actually hint that they are working on revamping some stuff that's already in the game, but not really anything related to fish. Will rare Geode companion stats be buffed at all? This is interesting because a lot of the other creatures, like the Geode companions from uncommon to rare, don't really have that much of a difference in their stat values. More so the rare ones just end up giving you more mastery. So the developers say that the rare pets from the golden eggs have unique appearances. All companions of the same type, regardless of rarity, share the same 3 common stats. Each rarity has a higher cap for those 3 stats as you level them. In general, the rare pets have a higher stat cap. A minor benefit, but it was important to make sure a large amount of power wasn't buyable via the store. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, this pack just literally became available because the daily reset. What is this mess? 18,500 credits? That's $100 right there. Are you kidding me? What do you get out of this? A gold companion egg, that's useless. Golden Dragon Effigy, okay, they usually end up selling those in $50 packs. 33 Greater Crystal Caches, those suck. 33 Greater Neon Caches, those kind of suck too. Greater Dragon Caches suck. 33 Chaos Chest, that is not equivalent at all. And then 33 Radiant Sovereigns. Man, that's an overpriced pack. Jeez Louise, like the only thing that's actually of value in it is the Dragon Effigy, honestly speaking, and maybe the Radiant Pancakes, but yikes, dude. Well, I'll have another video talking about that noise, but anyways, they're really desperately trying to push sales towards all this Geode stuff, but that is not worth $100, man. Do not buy that. So anyways, oh, lost connection again. Well, whatever. What happened to the name purge? Any info? So originally at the beginning of the year, they were going to end up purging names of players that haven't been online for a very long time. And they say that they still intend to do it, but it had a lot of conflicts than originally anticipated. We'll provide more info when we have it, and our apologies. You want to know what I want to know? Where's Yabaki? Where's that sweepstakes? Remember? Yabaki's in the game code. I haven't seen anybody with it. Have you? Oh my, the gold ticket chests are back. Ugh. Well, we'll talk about that noise in a bit. Anyways, next question is, can rare companions drop from silver eggs? Yes, they most definitely can. With the upcoming U10, there's so many outdated classes. What's your plan for them? They say that our general approach is to improve the combat capacity. We don't really want to nerf the top tier DPS, but prefer to adjust the baseline of other classes. So what that basically means is they're going to end up bringing up the weaker classes to the higher tier rather than bringing down the top dogs like Gunslinger, Draco, and stuff like that. They say that the next class that they're actually working on is the Ice Sage. So hopefully they don't end up ruining the fact that it's going to be a tank character for Titan bosses, but maybe we'll end up seeing it be something a little bit more powerful, which would be nice. And then, like so many people have been asking, some emblems were removed from the store. What's the plan for the missing mastery points for those that didn't buy them? And they say they were removed from the store as they were unpopular and seldom purchased. That's because they're a one-time purchase, and people would buy them with qubits because why would you waste your money on them? Anyways, the developers say that there is no exact details. We know they need redistributing, and we'll work on that. Hopefully not just Luxian again. That's just like their answer for everything. Will we ever be able to use dragon abilities on other dragons? It's a cool idea, but it would take a substantial amount of time to add. Not as easy as just swap dragon abilities like allies. I personally don't really feel that they should ever do something like that. I feel that a lot of the creatures in the game should actually have their own unique abilities to make them that much more special and unique, rather than just, oh, it's another dragon that just gives you more stats. I'm guessing this person is asking about using a different dragon skin or a different mount rather, while actually just using one of the primordial dragons, because most of them aren't really there's not really much of a point. Why did you lock the mastery of the Bomber Royale tome behind PvP? That's a weird question. The developer's response is very just, saying, we think it's reasonable to gate PvP items behind the PvP systems. It requires an extremely low amount of PvP playtime, and it gives players incentive to actually end up going for the reward, which is a way that you can end up actually playing Bomber Royale and trying it out for yourselves. Otherwise, you get that tome super duper easy. Everything else is tradable that actually matters. Oh, and then again, somebody didn't ask this question properly, but they just said to the developers, please can you look into the Starfire fragment drops? It feels broken and non-existent. And the developers, you guys gotta understand, the devs don't actually play this game. They don't grind it. Well, they play it, but don't get me wrong, they don't grind it the same way that we do. You know, despite the fact that I am definitely a pay-to-win player, I still grind these things with you guys, and that's why I can give you my personal input and feedback towards some of these features. And the Starfire Dragonite fragments, the problem with them is the same as any other fragments that drop from normal enemies, in that I'll give the example again. The Floral Dragon drops from sunlight bulbs. You can get 10,000 sunlight bulbs, let's just say 10,000 sunlight bulbs in 10 minutes, all right? This is an extreme exaggeration. Whereas in Shadow Towers, or even just in a normal biome, let's just say the Dinosaur Dragon, you could kill maybe 1,000, let's just say for argument's sake, you can get 10,000 sunlight flowers, which is 10,000 chances of actually dropping a fragment. You can get 1,000 dinosaur enemies killed within the same amount of time. Not likely, but within the same amount of time, and then the odds of actually getting the fragment are down to 1,000 instead of a solid 10,000. Now here's the Starfire Dragon, which is under the same drop rates, but you're only killing maybe 500 to 200 enemies in the Shadow Tower. Like, the problem is not that the Starlight fragments aren't dropping, it's that their numbers need to be increased in order to compensate for the lack of enemies that you end up actually fighting, especially considering the fact that I swear the developers haven't taken a peek at the code of every single one of the Shadow Tower enemies, because the Starfire fragments can only drop from a select few enemies, not every enemy in the Shadow Tower. Unfortunately, hopefully they'll end up getting this right one time, but otherwise, honestly speaking, it seems like they just keep getting frustrated that people keep asking about the Starfire fragments without actually being able to, people need to explain it to the developers so that they can actually understand the issue. But how are you going to end up getting that long point across in a Twitch message? Are there plans to decrease crystal prices or crystal amounts of crafting, or increasing the way of getting them? Also, why aren't they tradable? Very good question. The developers say that not at this time. The prices are as designed. Oh, you mean ridiculous? They want to sell crystal pinatas, I'm telling you. They aren't tradable, as that would empower someone to greatly gain process without taking a part in the system. No, somebody would have to take part in the system by actually grinding the crystals. Well, I kind of see their logic there, but I do think that the amount of crystals that are actually required is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it just requires too much crystal, especially because, or more so, I guess I should say, because of the metamatter. The amount of crystal that you can end up gaining from tier 5 if you're using a thumper is, you go into a crystal layer. Let's say you end up generating a good one. You can end up getting maybe 1,000 to 2,000 crystals in it. And that's going to end up being roughly, 30 minutes or so, more so, to end up actually getting into tier 5 in the first place, and then end up mining that crystal. Now, you could say that that's actually good odds, but you're not necessarily going to end up generating the proper crystal dungeon that's going to give you that much, let alone if you end up generating any crystal dungeon at all. Because otherwise, most crystal dungeons will average maybe 500 to 1,000 crystals, and you need 4,000 crystals and a lodestar in order to actually end up guaranteeing yourself some metamatter outside the means of the Geode Mastery and the store items. I'm not saying it needs to be super duper easy, I'm just saying it does need to be easier, but that's just my own 2 cents towards it, guys, and everybody else on the forums. Next question is, are you happy with the availability of metamatter currently? Many of us feel it's too rare, and they say that we do agree that it is rare, but it's also early in Geode's life cycle. We will be keeping an eye on it. It doesn't matter if it's early in Geode's life cycle. The amount of time that you have to actually grind towards the Geode is astronomically insane. Most of all, I don't have a complaint about grinding the Geode update. It's that the content that you're actually grinding, the excitement of it runs out real quick because it just has you repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And you could argue that it's the same thing for farming and everything like that, you know, going out into dungeons and everything. But the whole problem is that all of it's time gated in Geode, you know, because you got the crafting times and all of that stuff. It kind of, Geode honestly feels more like a phone game rather than a generic MMO on a PC and console, right? Thumbs up if you agree. Thumbs up if you disagree. And this is a really good one. So is there a plan for spectator mode in Bomber Royale? And they say, yes, there is. They're working on it right now. Oh, that's so awesome, because Bomber Royale desperately needs spectator mode, dude, because it is like no fun when you can't see like who is actually the last people surviving, because I don't want to just hop out of the arena. I'm playing it with friends. Aha! And then last question is a good one. Somebody asking, any update on Yabaki? And the developers say what we all knew: the way we were giving it out wasn't working, so we're looking at a better way to give it out to players. We tried repeatedly to reach out to the winners without success. How's about you throw me a Yabaki, devs? I'll give it away for you right away. Throw me a couple extra codes. I know how to do giveaways. Yeah, I used to do a lot of them. And I give things out right away rather than in 5 months. In all seriousness though, guys, I know that I'm overly critical in these videos, and I do shed a lot of hate towards the devs, but it's not necessarily hate, it's more criticisms, because I've been playing this game for a very long time, and I don't know, maybe I'm just an old fart, and there's certain things about the new systems in place that I personally don't really like. It's kind of more of a balance for me about difficult meets easy. You gotta find that fine line in between, and that's very, very difficult for somebody like a game developer as opposed to myself, where I'm just the person playing this game and making YouTube videos on it, right? So I don't know anything about any of this stuff. In either case though, guys, I did share my own personal honest opinion with all of this stuff. They have gotten a lot of things right. I am planning to actually make a video come out very soon that does talk about the systems in place that I do enjoy about Trove, because I do feel that in these videos, you know, things tend to actually take a little bit of a steer towards the negative and overly critical, but a lot of these questions are kind of justified. You know, like Yabaki, we kind of saw that coming a mile away. But anyways, that's my own personal opinion towards it. Still excited about what they're going to show off in the following weeks, because we still got that new test update, or the test server going to be coming online. Anyways, I better get to work because I got to get all the new stuff that just ended up coming out today as I'm recording this video. Thanks for watching though, folks. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified I get any videos coming out. Yeah, I have lots of videos coming out this week about the Geode packs. I know you guys have been hankering for whether or not these things are going to end up being worth it, but pretty much all the ones that you see right here that I haven't bought, you know, I played Trove like it's my career, because it kind of is, and even I won't buy these packs. Like, these are bad. Anyways, thanks for watching, folks. If you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel, which is a monthly subscription fee, or if you don't have any money, you can check links in the description for Gawkbox as well as Solidarity app. You play various phone games, you get free money, you give it to me, free sponsored donations. How cool is that? But if you do got some extra cash flow, you can end up buying some of my merch, because I like it. I think it's cool. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. Thanks for watching regardless. Sayonara and stay epic.